All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to State of SWGoH, Episode 5, Part 1, where Stero and I opine about the state of the game we play, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I'm going to discuss 3 topics on my channel, and then in Part 2, we're going to discuss 3 topics on Stero's. So, let's get started. First topic I want to talk about is the assault battles and what this means for future possible assault battles. We're going to speculate wildly here. I don't know about you. I think I actually looked at your roster earlier today. I got my Master Qui-Gon and Padawan Obi-Wan to R9 just before the most recent assault battle. I think I saw yours were R7.
Yeah, and that's where they're going to be parked for a while.
Oh, really? You're not going to... It's prohibitively expensive, but the rewards are evergreen. The earlier
They are,
you can
but
get it...
I just don't have any of the other R9 requirements like Radis. I don't have any of the two.
That's fair.
Leviathan stuff. So for me, if you get them to R7, you're getting R7 and R8 materials out of it.
Yeah.
So it's a really good place to stop, in my opinion, if you're not quite ready to push.
It's a great return on investment at R7. My alt account, I have them at R1. Eventually, I'm going to get them to R7, maybe push them to R9. I'm not entirely sure yet. But the way this assault battle was formatted is different.
Yes.
It's 2 characters. And the tiers are gated not behind your ability to complete them, like the previous assault battles were, which, you know, some of them were pretty cheesable, but behind your relic levels. Now, the relic levels, some of them are pretty expensive, like that final tier's R9s, but you do get quite a bit out of it. And I think Egnard's had a post on Reddit about it. It was something like 9 months or something, and you get a return on everything. So it's definitely something that's worthwhile. Where was I going? But I think this format of assault battle is something that is going to be coming back. I think that like in previous episodes of the show, we've talked about turning on the spigot for R9 mats. And I think this is their way of doing it. And it's actually pretty genius, in my opinion. You got to spend them to get them. So it's taking some away from us to unlock the ability to get more. And I think that maybe every 6 months or so, maybe as infrequently as once a year, we're going to get more assault battles. They might have steeper requirements, maybe 3 or 4, maybe a whole team of R9s. But I think this is a format. I've seen wide adoption of this by lots and lots of people that wouldn't normally do this kind of thing, relic 9ing these characters. And I think this is something that they see that they can make some money off of. And I would not be surprised to see a Balin Skull assault battle when we get Balin Skull. I think that's where this is leading. And I
think he's going for, as Bo-Katan unlocked Mandalore, I think he's going to unlock a Peridia in territory battles.
I can understand that. It doesn't really fit with Rise of the Empire, but that's not necessarily a big deal. My only push...
Well, Rise of Thrawn. So.
Yeah, I guess. But my major pushback on that would be... Well, Starkiller was pre-wrote, and was Afra pre-wrote or right when it came out?
I think she was like right when it came out, because wrote was right before Jabba, and Afra was that year, right? 2022 or something.
2022, yeah, and Bo's 2023, and then Balin will be 2024. So, but I think that Balin Skull is going to have he's going to have something attached to him that you're going to want to have him. And I think that my current thought is that the assault battles, the Duel of the Fates assault battles, was a pilot program for what we're going to get for Balin. But so what's your experience with this assault battles? What do you think? Do you think we're going to get another one like this in the near future, in the far-flung future? What do you think?
I think we're going to get another one. I don't think we'll ever get another one like this, in that 2 characters for the rewards that it
Pretty
provides
cheap.
is very generous.
Yeah.
And now that they've seen that we can get widespread adoption, they're not going to be nearly as generous in the future.
I think
It's going to require a whole team.
a full team,
and they're
yeah.
going to continue to get it at Relics. They're
Mhm.
going to do that. And they were very particular. You kind of just got a few shards until you had them to 7-star. Once you got to 7-star, then you got all these mod materials and it became like really worthwhile. And then as you pushed into relics, they got even more worthwhile.
Mhm.
So they're going to provide these incentives for you to rush these teams as soon as possible. I think you could also see, instead of an assault battle, is like a smuggler's run type deal, like a mythic event or something like that, that is returning on a regular basis, but not an assault battle, because they were strangely hesitant to give us the normal assault battle cadence for like over a month
Yeah.
after it came out, even though they labeled it an assault battle. So I think they were trying to see how much they could get away with in terms of cadence with
I
those
think
rewards.
the hesitance to give us the
know.
cadence might have had something to do with the busted GG in that whatever that event was. It might have had something to do with that, but it also could have had nothing to do with that. So they were, but they're never really eager to give us a long-term schedule on anything.
No.
So it, like, the fact that we know now that it's going to be every third Wednesday of the month.
Yep, every third Wednesday.
That's huge that we know that for a fact. You can prepare for it. I was able to get my guys up to R9 right before this last one. And it was shockingly easy to 3-star all of the tiers. I don't know how your experience was.
Yeah, I haven't played R9, the R9 tier, obviously, yet, but even the R7 tier, super easy.
It only took me a couple of tries and maybe remodding once. It was just a matter.
Oh, I first tried all of them.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I heard that sometimes R9 can be difficult, but
the R9 actually was really easy for me. I don't know. Like, I had more difficulty leading up to it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, I was putting good mods on them anyway, because when I got them, they were a fairly new team, and I was like, I'm going to put my, best not already assigned mods on these guys, and I'm going to spend my mod material, to level them up. And so I've got, they're all like 300 plus speed, I think. So
yeah,
and they're all like mostly 6-dot mods, and
I mean,
I don't know. To me, it's just like, if you're going to take them that high, you should have the modding to go with it. And if you don't, that's kind of your own.
It's a good team anyway. They're worth modding.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the second one, because I think this goes together pretty well here. I want to talk about the relic level inflation. So when the raid structure changed, going from the Treya raid to the crate raid, or the sea pit to the crate, however you want to think about it, we started getting this influx of more purple and gold gear, and a little bit more of the relic mats and all of that stuff. And my concern at the time was that, oh crap, the pre-G13 era of the game is over, which it was, effectively. Yep. I mean, you can still use some teams at lower gear levels, but it's not great usually, and it's usually like niche cases. And that the age of R3 and R5 requirements on characters was over. And I was pleasantly surprised when the layer requirements came out, and there was no R9s, if I remember correctly. Only a couple of R8s, right? And
I thought there was
I
thought just R2 was R8.
Yeah, just R2 was R8. and a handful of R5s and R7s. And, there was that inflation, but it was kind of capped out at R7, R8.
Yeah, five R or no six R7s, one R8.
Yeah. So
So it was really cheap.
it was shockingly
really cheap.
cheap, especially considering Lord Vader having such high relic requirements. And it was pretty close to Jabba, if I remember correctly. Wasn't
Jabba, I mean, yes, in terms of relic requirements, but Jabba is, I would say, still has worse requirements than Leia.
Mhm.
Leia was like extraordinarily generous because people had already built into relics most of her
That's
requirements,
true, yeah.
as opposed to Jabba. Like nobody had Gamorrean Guard, Greedo
But
built up yet.
we're
So
entering into an era now where I'm at 11.5 million GP. I'm in the later game, but I'm not end game, and I'm in a position where new GL gets released and everything but the marquee characters are already at relic levels. So and I'm in a pretty common position for players that have been playing for as long as I have. Most players that are 10 million or above probably are in a similar spot. Maybe not every character, but most of the good ones, and then you get some crap character that you need to take from 11 to G13 or whatever. But
yeah.
I was really worried and was pleasantly surprised with Leia, and then even Leviathan, which had two R9s. One of them was Malik, which okay, R9 Malik, that's awesome. R9 Malik is a character that is usable in so many different ways. His team is actually pretty good. It's less good now, but it's still pretty good. And basically the only punishing relic on that team was Darth Revan, who totally does not deserve an R9, but that's okay. You're going to have that for a lot of requirements.
Well, yeah, but he's also the pilot of the ship, so
Yeah.
you might as well R9 him for
Yes.
the
So
speed
it's really
anyway.
not that big a deal either. But now we're looking at GL Ahsoka Tano and the raids and all of this. What GL Ahsoka Tano has two R9s as of us talking about this. The first two sets of requirements are out, and most likely we'll have a third. In my opinion, I feel like my opinion is not a it's not an uncommon one. Most people speculate it'll be Fulcrum. I'm not sure if that's the case, but
I mean, she's not
it's
very highly
yeah,
adopted,
and
so it would make
I,
a lot of sense for CG to make her a
I'm
requirement.
not certain it's probable, but it's definitely possible. And
Mhm.
and then we have the relics or the raid, which has caused me to take a bunch of insane characters to insane relic levels, and I'm still not even done yet. Like I'm working on taking Queen Amidala to R9 next, which might be still be another week or so. I'm probably going to take the Gungans fully to R8, which I really don't want to do, but they're still a good team, so doing it is not punishing
Yep.
me in other game modes. I'm thinking about taking my B2 and my IG 100 up to R7 so that I can do one tier higher on it. Like, so there's a serious inflation of relic levels, and it's hurting. It's hurting me big time. I was in a position. I think last time we talked about signal data and how, oh yeah, I don't worry about signal data. I got signal data for days. It's fine. Every week when I do my gearing, I go down to 0 every time. And because I'm taking a character to R8 or R9 or taking two to R7, and it's nutty. And with how difficult the raid is, it's making it even more difficult to keep up with all this stuff. And I'm afraid I'm gonna fall behind. What do you think about all of this?
Yeah, I mean, for me, honestly, I don't know that this is having the effect that CG wants it to, but as a mid-game player, I'm at like 7.8 million now.
Mhm.
I got 4 GLs. One of the GL ships I'm closing in on Profundity as
Ah,
well. So
congrats.
Thank you. So pretty mid game. I'm my next like current farm right now is I've got Jedi Knight Cal Kestis unlocked, and I'm working on getting him to Relic 7 and him and Seer. And for the Zepho unlock, because our guild is getting pretty close for Zepho, which is old news these days, but it'll help with the crunch, the
My
Chirotech
guild's
crunch.
just now working on it, so we're pretty
So
casual.
I'm like, I would say I'm like solidly mid game. Like just
definitely
the epitome of mid game at this point, doing stuff that's 1.5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But these new requirements and the emphasis that they're putting on them, like we haven't even started talking about like conquest, the datacrons, all this other stuff. They're putting a hard emphasis, like harder than they usually do, in my opinion, on the new stuff and gearing requirements and like stuff towards like get the new stuff, get the new stuff. And they're even coming out with like the Lightspeed bundles, right? They've got the Hoth pack with Wampa Rolo and Captain Han.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's almost unheard of. I mean, that is unheard of. But I think what CG is trying to do is say, put your blinders on, focus on the new thing,
And we'll sell you the
and
old
if
thing.
we'll sell you the old thing eventually. But honestly, it's having the opposite effect right now with the amount of R9s and all these requirements. Like, as a mid-game player, I cannot keep up. I'm about to get knocked out of Kyber. I am like losing crystal income because people are starting to get Leviathans in fleet, which is why I'm going for Profundity, by the way, because I'm way closer to that than Leviathan. But I am just getting so massively behind, and all of these new requirements are making me take a look at my roster and say, you know what? I might need to just take a couple years and just completely ignore the new stuff and just like get Jabba, get Leia, get Profundity. Just honestly, get the 8 GLs. Just like maybe not Lord Vader, but like get the 3 core fleets, get the GLs, and because Jabba, like, he offers so much. Leia is going to be very meta capable, at least on offense, I'm sure far into the future.
Yeah.
The whole Skywalker triangle thing, it just makes sense to farm them. And I don't feel like I feel so overwhelmed that I no longer feel pressured to chase the new stuff anymore. Does that make sense?
Yes. But I would have the exact opposite reaction. I'd be like, well, F it. If they're going to sell me this other stuff and I'm already spending money, I'll just buy the old stuff as it comes out and work on the new stuff. But then I'm thinking, my alt account is so close to yours. I literally just unlocked Profundity. I'm working on Jedi Knight Cal. I'm farming tickets for my 4th GL right now. So, like, we are basically in the same position. And you know what? On that account, I have a plan. I have blinders on, but it's just the plan that I have. I work the plan, and every 3 months or so, reevaluate what I'm working on next, and then just keep working that plan. And sometimes it involves new stuff. Usually just involves working on stuff that I know will be like evergreen. Like, I am actually working on Qui-Gon and Padawan Obi-Wan.
Well, there's such a good investment.
But like, I don't know if I'm gonna try for GL Ahsoka Tano. I'm not too far away from it as far as like the non-marquee stuff goes, but that still might be a year or two away because 4 out of 8 GLs. Maybe I'll finish farming what I'm doing now, and I'll be like, oh crap, I can just turn around and get JMK. Well, like, why don't I just do that instead of going?
Well, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm like, if I go for Profundity and then I go into Jabba and then into Leia, like they're all just so close for me since I already have JML. And Jabba, they made Jabba so freaking valuable with how often Smuggler's Run 2 comes around.
Oh yeah.
His free combat missions in Rote, he's just so freaking valuable. I feel like I have to go for him, otherwise I'm just going to be so massively behind in mods.
I'm shocked
and I
you
will
don't
be.
have him yet, honestly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I entered into the Skywalker triangle with JML
Mhm.
because I was closest to him, and with the plan of going through the whole triangle before moving on to other stuff. The only thing that I detoured for the Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan because the assault battle.
Yeah.
So if they do something like that with like Balin, then I'll go for Balin. I'm already thinking of going for Balin because I already have Thrawn, and I got the Night Sisters pack, so I already have, you know,
Right. If you get that,
3/5 of the team built.
yeah, if you get the stuff to unlock Balin, you're going to get use out of it because you have the rest of the team already built. So that's,
Yeah.
but, and
So I'll go for Balin, but like my strategy is I will go for a few key new things.
mm,
GL Ahsoka, absolutely not. My eyes are set on Great Mothers and Elsbeth, and then Balin as well.
and that'll get
But
you time
I'm
to hoard those higher end relic mats too for when you do decide to go and get those things or break off and start doing the new stuff. Then you'll have the mats available to you. So I think that's a
yeah.
smart play.
I'm also thinking like I if I can skip GL Ahsoka, go for Balin, whatever. I mean, I'm still so far behind. It's not like it's gonna matter all that much.
Oh, and
But
you're never gonna catch up either,
never,
regardless.
yeah.
So
But I was thinking if I look ahead, maybe I just save up for the next fleet meta. Because if it's not, I don't think it's coming this year.
no,
If it's not coming this year, it 100% is going to come next year.
yeah,
I'm pretty certain of
and
that.
it's gonna have 3 or 4 relic 9 requirements for it. Also,
Yeah, no, it'll be costly, but the thing is, if I can save up for that, right now
you'll get
Fleet Arena still has the crystals attached to it.
yeah, you'll get
So
way
if
more out of that, and
way more out of it.
even aside from the crystals, just having the meta fleet in GAC is enough to deter a lot of people in Kyber 2, 3, and 4 from even attacking you. If they see
Yeah.
that fleet's in there, they'll be like, screw it. Whatever happens, happens. So that it's a huge boost just from a opponent morale standpoint by getting the meta fleet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's a lot easier to get a meta fleet if you're on top of the new releases
Yeah.
than I think it is to get a GL if you're
Yeah,
single.
you could be on top of the new releases and still be gated behind something else entirely with a new GL. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's like my plan is I'm just like there's too much new stuff. Like I think Master Qui-Gon and Padawan Obi-Wan being very incentivized to go to R9, plus the Gungans being a heavy incentive for the raid, given its difficulty, and
Mhm.
also the new R9, R8 tiers. Um, it's just too much for any. I mean, it's probably, yeah, like you said, it's straining your resources as well as an end game. Not like
Not
most
quite
like
endgame,
near
but
end
yeah.
game, not quite end game, but like late game player, it's straining your resources.
Yeah.
My resources, I just have no hope of keeping up with that because it's a resource game,
Yeah.
right? You build like as you build your roster, you get more and more passive income. And so it's just what I don't get is they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll sell you this old stuff." But the thing is, they've made the old stuff in some cases so valuable for that resource building engine. Like just think Imperial Troopers.
Mhm.
You get 2 assault battles, like you just take a few Imperial Troopers to relics, you have maxed out 3 stars, 2 assault battles. That's gonna reward you
Forever. Yeah.
forever a lot more than chasing the newest, like if you chased Gungans, right? And Gungans are so much more expensive.
Yeah.
You'll get some raid benefits from
But
that,
that's
but
time sensitive
and
too.
then it'll disappear. Yeah,
Mhm.
it'll disappear. And then they don't have an assault battle.
My
They only have the gung tag.
my
Like,
fear with that is that like something like the Gungans is that in a year from now they're an irrelevant team. I don't want that. I don't want to have invested all of this in that because they're a good team right now. They're not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. But if you don't have the right team to counter it, it's very very hard to beat.
Yep.
I would prefer if they stayed that way for a long time based on the amount I have invested in the team.
Mhm.
Which I think is a good segue into our next topic. I want to talk about the relative power of these newer teams versus the older teams. And ones that I thought of in particular, as far as the newer teams go, are these new troopers. The new Night Sisters, which isn't complete yet, so it's not really. It's hard to say what the team's actually going to be like because we don't have the Great Mothers and
Gungan level.
yeah, Gungan. That's what they say. With a bunch of marquees, I hope that's not the case. I hope it is good, but not Gungan level because Gungan is another team that's on this list. And then versus like old teams, like the old Troopers team, Bounty Hunters, Treya, Qui-Gon, that kind of stuff. Like some of these teams, these new teams coming out are friggin' nutty. That Troopers team, basically impossible to crit against, and you don't you have to crit them to kill them? Like
you have to crit them in order for them to stay dead. If you don't crit them, you have to kill each one of them 10 times.
Yeah. That's insane. That is
It's
nutty. And then the Gungans
to
are
be
just
fair, you can get around that with Revan,
yeah.
but
and the Gungans are a pretty tough to beat team, like we were saying. The Night Sisters
really tough. Once their Datacron goes away, hopefully they'll be a little bit easier. But...
yeah, I think they'll still be a defensive stalwart for a while though. There'll be a Datacron in each set for them. That a 3/6 combo that makes them good.
Yeah.
And the new Night Sisters team, they seem to be performing pretty well, but the team isn't really all there yet. But they're performing well, and the team isn't already all there yet. So I'm afraid of this.
Performing super good though.
I'm afraid of this. Like, again, we're talking theme of the show today is inflation, and I think it's going to go into your half of the episode as well.
It 100% will.
These old teams that I have invested quite a bit in, like my old Troopers team, I got an R8 Dark Trooper. My Bounty Hunters are all Relic. My Treya team, I don't have. I actually have gone with a low gear Treya team for a very long time, and I still find uses for it.
Same,
but it's becoming more and more rare, especially with Datacrons. Well, a lot of times, cat's walking over here. A lot of times. The counters I normally use it for, there's now a Datacron that makes it very difficult to do it with the low gear team. And I'd like to not gear them if I don't have to, but I guess I'm going to in the future. And then stuff like Qui-Gon is something that if I find the right team on defense, I can beat it, but otherwise it's kind of useless, And I don't want to lose viability on things I've already made investment in, and it feels bad, man. I don't know. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I think starting with Gungans, they broke open they introduced a new tier of team.
Mm-hmm.
And that tier of team beats all teams before it. Except for Galactic Legends.
And in some cases, even some Galactic
And in some cases, even Galactic Legends. Like, the amount of teams that can dunk on SLKR is just, it's not even funny. But, SLKR has the saving grace of you can use him effectively on offense still.
I might even push that back even further. I'd say something like Seer Junda started this. Like Seer...
With Malicos.
Yeah, Seer with Malicos wrecks all kinds of stuff. It's kind of insane, honestly. But I in principle, you're right. Yeah, there's everything that comes out now seems to beat everything that was before it, and that wasn't always the case. We would get the Idens that were, good, made some crappy tunes better, worth investing in, worth investing in the whole team if you wanted to, but wasn't beating the world. But now I don't think that's the case anymore, and I'm afraid that this Night Sister team is going to be fully put together and is going to beat everything, and then this Balin
I
Skull
don't think
team is gonna be like that too, and
and GL Ahsoka, which, by the way, adding a conquest lifter right out of the gate,
yeah, that's
really, who's not a
yeah,
part. See, it's even worse to me. People are like, "Oh no, maybe Exile Ezra will be a requirement." To me, that's even
yeah.
worse.
No, that's way
Because to have a
worse.
functional team, you have to also get a conquest unit.
Yeah,
It's not better; it's worse. So, I. But yes, to the point, the teams are just like it's introducing a new level. Your troopers and bounty hunters of old are going to become your, fabled uh what's his name, wedge lead,
yeah. Wigs.
that used to be a meta.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like it's like you're basically going to end up with like your, once good teams being equivalent to a farm boy Luke. Like
yeah.
it's
Old
just how it's gonna
Republic.
go. But Farm Boy Luke is still gonna be the worst character in the game. I don't know. He's not. You can find use actually. Like technically,
For
with
leading your nest.
Wampacron, in territory battles, if you want to use Wampa, he doesn't get the ton of tenacity, but Farm Boy Luke lead will give him a bunch of tenacity.
Yeah,
So I mean, but like the point being is, all these units are going to become pretty useless. But the problem with that is they haven't restructured any of the incentive systems, right? So your troopers and your bounty hunters and your Empire, your Sith First Order, whatever, all these teams are still required for your engine building early game, mid game, and they're going to be bad. And so you're going to be forced, if you want to get the good stuff, you have to go after the new stuff, which means you're going to be forced to cripple yourself. And the only way to dig yourself out of that hole is to buy their packs that they give you to throw you a, a bone every
right.
once in a while with the light speed bundles. It's a really kind of icky cycle that we're going into. And I think it's kind of just a byproduct of the game being around so long.
Oh, definitely, definitely. This
Like what are
is
you gonna do? Rework all the characters, or I mean, you have to push the meta. You have to come out with a better team than it was before.
this is mudflation, 100%. I don't know if you've ever played like an MMO or something, but like in EverQuest, you basically measured your character's power by their HP pool, mana pool, armor class, whatever. And the gear, every expansion would be, oh, well, the gear in this expansion, the high end gear is just 100 more hit points than the stuff from the previous expansion. And it would just keep going. And eventually it became like, well, now this expansion is 200 more than the previous expansion. And then the next expansion is, well, this one's 500 more than the previous expansion. And those kind of when the game started to decline. And so I'm seeing these patterns, and we're not in any dire situation yet, but it feels like they're going away from that finely balanced state that we had been in for quite a while, and things are getting kind of out of whack, and I don't like the way that it's going.
Yeah, I don't think it's hopeless though. I
Oh,
think
definitely not.
there's definitely ways you can fix it. There's been games like in other gotcha games, which I hesitate to compare this to because it's
Yeah,
not
it's not
really a
really.
gotcha game. But
It
in
shares
gotcha games, what they'll
some
do
similarities, but it's not a gotcha game. Yeah.
is they'll have these passive mechanics where like you can send players in your party that you're not using, you can send them out on missions and you can't use them for like
Mm-hmm.
24 hours, but they'll gain you some resources, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I could see some similar system where it's like, hey, go send 5 Relic 5 or higher bounty hunters and they're locked out of your account for like, I don't know,
And they'll bring back a bounty.
a couple days a week, and then they will bring you back a bounty, and you'll get like a bunch of credits, gear, and maybe some Kyrotech, and maybe a Zeta or an Omicron or something
We
like that.
kind of have that already. Platoons. in TV. It's not exactly what you're saying, but the principle is the same. It's just all contained in the one game mode.
Yeah, and I think their issue is they need to find a way for you to use the roster that you're no longer using without increasing screen time. Because there's already way too much screen time
Way too
between
much.
territory battles, wars, Grand Arena, raids. Oh my gosh, the raid takes forever.
Oh man.
And then they need to find a way to increase passive uses of that. And I think something like a platoon thing, but like those missions where like a weekly or whatever mission where you can lock certain characters out of your account that you're not going to use anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more of just like a relic check. Be like, hey, you got these characters at, I don't know, relic 3 plus whatever. And then just like lock them out of your account because you're not going to use them anyway. And then they passively gain your resources.
I like the idea. I think they could even simplify it a little bit. It's just a lottery, 5 random characters. If you have those 5 at relic levels, you get them, and they'll weigh them towards less useful characters so that you incentivize people to bring up the less useful characters, and it rewards people who have already done it. I think it's I think locking them out of the account it presents some issues.
It does, yeah.
Galactic challenges, Grand Arena, that kind of thing. There's just so many game modes that you might not want.
Yeah.
Like if it's Ugnaught or something, you're like, okay, who gives a crap? But like, what if it's like your Bosk? Then you're like, I might not use Bosk, but I might use Bosk. You know, so hard to say.
It could be. I don't know. But what I'm saying is they have options.
Yeah.
To start doing this.
For sure.
I think they're going to be hesitant to increase our ability to generate resources, though.
Yeah. But at a certain point, certain resources are going to become kind of trivial for most accounts in the mid game on. Like I'm sure you're already noticing there's certain purple pieces that probably aren't as big a deal to you. Like Carbantes were probably a huge pain in your ass and are probably much less so now.
Swimming in Carbantes and stun guns. So, like, who cares about those?
So like they could turn on the spigot for stuff like, oh, I don't know.
Pyro tech.
No, that's never gonna be. That's what they're not gonna turn the spigot on.
400 a character, and they're releasing a character every other week. Yeah. Like, we're not gaining like. Okay, maybe you're gaining 400 Kyro tech every other week, but I'm not gaining 400 Kyro tech every other week.
Maybe I am, but I also am not farming shards. Well, I am now that the new character has finally been released as a.
There you go.
So it's probably not anymore, but I'm sitting on a bunch of shock prods right now, but don't have battle computers, which really flummoxed me when I went to go do my gearing this week. But that's a story for another time. We're at 38 minutes here, so let's wrap this side up. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to put a link to Stero's part 2 in the description down below, and we'll see you on the other side, guys. Peace out. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to like, subscribe, comment in the comment section down below, and you can join me on Twitch or Discord. Both have links in the description. I hope to see you guys there.